And welcome once again to the 10-Minute Life Coach program. My name is Jay Clifton Payne. I describe myself as a personal development coordinator, and I assist people ready for improvement in developing their personal and professional goals into tangible, focused, and achievable plans of action. This is one of the methods I do that. One of the tools I have is this podcast, the 10-Minute Life Coach. This is a 10-minute or so podcast, 10 minutes or so on the details, and 2 minutes on the back end with the sales stuff that gives you a quick lesson that you can take along with you as soon as you're done and apply it to your life, business, or personal. Or sometimes you'll use it to apply to whatever you're already doing. It reinforces that the things you're already doing are fairly good things that may have not quite clicked, but they're on the way to doing that. More information about the podcast at the website, 10minutelifecoach.com. Now, today is a very special day. Today is the 100th episode of the 10-Minute Life Coach. And it's a long time coming because doing a weekly podcast, you'd think it'd take 100 weeks to get there. But no, it took it to a couple of years. We had a 4-year hiatus in the podcast before we even reached the first 50. And it was an amazing thing. It's a big story in itself on just the struggles of getting to the point where we were, finding out that somebody actually missed us after 3.5 years, and then getting back on the saddle and making a new format that worked out for the best. This was a long process. If you listen to last week's episode, the episode 99, you'll get the chance to hear all that went into getting up to this point, because it was about getting to this point. This is supposed to be a celebration of the point, but actually what it is a celebration that you've gotten here. And we thank you so much for being here, being with us. Probably not the full 100 episodes, but as many as you've been, or if you're just now joining us, thank you for joining us for this special episode, because that means you are a person who is looking for ways to improve upon themselves, whether for their personal gain or for their professional gain, or the mix the two together, because essentially it's all the same. It's one you. Even if you split yourself into your work goals and your life goals, you're working towards a better you on the whole. And here is the real key to all that. Being a guy who works in personal development, works in business development, works with people every single day to get better at things, you're going to find that the whole point of your scale, however you decide to say what good is, what better is, if you're there or not, comes down to having a very honest sense of evaluation, having honest people give you great feedback, and you being able to take that feedback and, of course, honestly evaluate yourself. That's something that's hard for many of us to do, myself included, because it requires being honest. It requires being vulnerable. It requires looking at yourself in a clear view and not in an idolized view, not with the whole rose-colored glasses thing. It requires you to look at yourself and look at the input coming to you with honest eyes and honest ears. I guess you listen with honest ears, not look with honest ears, and take it all in and sift through it for what it really is. Some of that contact, some of that information, it won't really do you very much good, because some of it is going to be superficial. It's going to be very minor things that mean very little to very few people. Some of it will be very big, huge bombshells, but some of it won't be your problem. It's sort of their problem. They are major things to other people that don't affect the bulk of what you're doing. It's sort of like, the complaint about loving a perfect steak. I myself enjoy and appreciate the whole perfect steak thing, but I order my steaks very well done, and I slather it with steak sauce because that's the way I actually like it. It may not be the quote-unquote right way, the perfect way to do it, but it's the way that I want to ingest it, so that's the way I order it. So that's kind of how that works out. But the hard part is really you taking your eyes and your ears and your thoughts and you going over what you've done and seeing how well you've improved. It's easier if you have numbers, real metrics, real things that you can judge against where you've gotten better here or there. But sometimes it's the intangibles. It's how you feel. It's how other people react. It's how you get involved in things from the past to the present, and maybe from the present looking forward into the future. Honesty is always the best policy, even if honesty hurts sometimes. Now, you're not talking about calling someone else out, so you're not worried about the words you're saying being hurtful to others. That's another thing. When you're dealing with evaluations of other people, you have some tact there. But when you are evaluating yourself, it is okay to be brutally honest as long as you're not overly brutal in that honesty. You have to be fair to yourself and your abilities and your talents as well. I cannot rank myself as against any of the greatest basketball players of all time, even though I love basketball, because I'm not a very good player. I love the sport. I love the game. I wanted to play professionally when I was a young child, and being that I didn't grow very tall, that limited my chances in basketball. But that doesn't mean I can't love the game and can't perform on my end. I can work better on shooting free throws whenever I'm practicing. I can work on my ability to run and get better endurance, and I can work on my actual skills of the game. I just can't expect to go out there on the court tomorrow and take on the new Isaiah Thomas and the Celtics in a point guard battle and think I'm going to outlast him, because it's not going to happen for this 42-year-old 5'5" guy. Just not going to happen. So evaluating yourself with a real and true and just honest eye is great, but you have to be a little hard on yourself, but not too hard. Now, let's back up to evaluating others again, because that's going to be a part of this, because others get to evaluate you, and you have to sort of evaluate their evaluations. That's a lot of evaluate in that sentence, but that's what you do. You ask people that you truly trust for some feedback, and they will give you what they can. Then you have to kind of gauge whether they're giving you their honest feedback, their overly honest feedback, or exactly what they think you want to hear, which a lot of times people will say that to kind of get them off your back, get you off their back in these situations. That's just kind of the nature of the business when you're asking for feedback. The real kind of deal with all these feedback companies and asking for reviews and things like that, which I ask for often for these things, is that very often they're overinflated or they're overstated. People get a lot of massive 5-star, overly top-notch reviews from people who are friends, who are family, who are trying to raise the ratings, or people who just think I'm supposed to give them a top review. I kind of like it so A+, as opposed to I kind of like it so it's really C+, B-. Or people that just find some little thing to be nitpicky about and they decide they hate it. There are times when people really don't like what you're doing, and people will need to tell you that so that you can fix it or ignore it. Maybe the problem really is them. But there are times when people will tell you things that are a little too good and some things that are a little too raw because they just feel they're supposed to. You're supposed to have an opinion, so you be as outlandish as possible. And when you really should just kind of be as honest as possible. If you have no opinion on something, it's okay to say there's no opinion. It's okay to not like or not hate something. Just let it be. So as I talk about my journey doing 100 episodes of this podcast and hundreds of episodes of other podcasts, going from number 1 all the way to whatever large number it is, it's a hard thing to do because it takes time. It takes effort. It takes sacrifice. It takes the time out to do it. It takes a little time to suck it up and accept the responsibility for what needs to be done and what isn't done and what it sounds like and what it doesn't say. Sometimes you'll say something that makes people upset. Sometimes you'll make people cry. And sometimes you'll say things that will make people laugh when they're not supposed to be upset, cry, or laugh. The point doesn't quite get across. Every single effort will not be a winning effort. You can't win every single game, period. Because you do learn some things in the losses. You learn what doesn't work so you can use the right tool and have it work better for you the next time it really does matter. That's why there's a regular season. That's why there's a preseason. That's why there is practice. That's why we talk about practice. It took 100 tries to get this thing on the air 100 times, and we've made it. Thank you so much for being a part of this journey, and hopefully you'll be with us for 100 more or so, and hopefully it won't take 5 years to knock out. Hopefully it'll just take the 2 or so years to knock out one every single week. But the big takeaway I need you to get for this week is just get there. Be honest with yourself as you go through the process and keep on going if you can. Don't keep going if you can't. Don't overdo it. Don't push it. And just be aware of exactly who it is you're reaching, who your audience is in anything. Because there's always an audience, even if that audience is just yourself. So if you're doing it for you, you're the only person that it matters. If you're doing it for others, listen to what others are saying and see how well it works out. If you're doing it just because it should be done, then it's probably someone else's job that should be doing it because they'll probably enjoy getting it done. Even though there are days when sometimes it's just about getting the damn thing done. And thank you so much for joining us for this edition of the 10-Minute Life Coach, this 100th episode. milestone edition. We are very, very proud of getting here. Me and the guys that helped me work on these things are very ecstatic that we got here, especially since you've heard my number one episode, The Humble Beginnings, and I think we've come a long way, both in me speaking, because I've done more speaking since then, and just kind of getting the thing done. Thank you so much for helping us along the way with comments, with some of them not so nice, but sometimes we needed them, and just the love and listening and downloads. Downloads, always awesome. For more information about this podcast, you can always find it at 10minutelifecoach.com. There's all the episodes there and information about how this thing came to be and other things going on. Launching very soon will be the new More Better Media project, so you can find out more great podcasts that I produce coming from there, including direct links to things that are going on. And, of course, you can find out more about my contacts, my projects, my other things by going to jclevelandpayne.net. That's my main website. Contact me via jclevelandpayne@gmail.com or info@jclevelandpayne.net. The first one is my Gmail address, which just gets checked more times than not, but it is a little spammy, so sometimes things get kind of lost in the flow. The other one's the more business address, so check it out as well. We'll be back again for another edition, at least next week, and hopefully another 100 of these things. And that's all because you're there along with us for the ride. Thank you so much for being with us. I say thank you a lot because it really doesn't work out for you. I could say this to myself and not spend 10 minutes, but to give it to you in this format, doing the recordings, making it work, it is a blessing. Find us wherever you like to find us because we're all over the place for subscribing. Subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And, of course, join us for 101 in 7 days from the 10-Minute Life Coach.